to be an issue here and there because some of them do not see the need to register as voters. They don't trust that the institution or the body will, carry out its mandated, work or whatever it's supposed to do. They believe the issues of trust and the like are still heavily there, and they have a lot of apathy, which has been the case from before. So this is not new. But there's a contention. If you want change, you have to vote. That is what most people will say. But for the young people, they say, we understand, but this is the issue we're having. What's your take on that?
I think that's very unfortunate. I understand where they're coming from, but it's very unfortunate. The IEBC should be an institution that we should be able to trust in. But we've had issues with the way the IEBC officials are picked, Some of them we can clearly, you look them up and you can clearly tell there's something wrong there. So that kind of erodes it not even kind of erodes, it has, our trust died a long time ago with institutions. But at the same time, we have to do everything that we can do, that we possibly can do. And one of the most important things is to vote. So I think it's just a matter of having these conversations over and over. Unfortunately, however exhausting it is, we need to talk about it with the people around us. We need to convince each other. Because if we don't do that, and we end up in a situation where, and we've seen people saying, leaders literally saying they're going to steal the votes, But if, as young people, we can come together and get over 10 million votes, and direct it towards the kind of leader that we want, it will be very hard for them to come and steal and match that. So if we play around with voting and we decide we are not going to vote, then we're just running around in circles.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I'll go back to what I asked you earlier. You do a lot of sensitization. Even like I mentioned earlier as we begin this conversation, even in funerals where we've seen many political leaders show up and, wanapatia watu pole, but then you said they leave before someone is interred, like they come do what they need to do and, and you're not happy with that because this person was very close to you. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, you can give us that perspective and what you notice the most when it comes to the education on governance and politics that wananchi people have.
So I think that particular incident, I was very irritated because, obviously because it was very personal and because, again, I've always had an issue with the way we use our personal tragedy and the church too, to further very funny political agendas. And in this particular instance, I had lost my grandma, and I was my grandma's baby through and through. So to have local politicians come to the burial and say, one of them actually said we should give the government time to work on SHA. And I was extremely annoyed because we got very little help from SHA when my grandma was sick. So I was wondering the audacity to come and say that in front of us and then do that and leave before we even do the burial. So I don't know, like if you wanted a political rally, have a political rally so that you can speak for the government away from our personal issues. And I felt like there's a lot of disrespect in our society with the way such platforms are used. And I think one of the things that I actually admire about the former CJ, David Maraga, he was just here, is, sorry, I've been with him on several occasions in burials and church and all that. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't stand up and be the center of attention at a burial or be the center of attention, could be the distraction at such a personal moment in people's lives. And I think that's the kind of direction we're supposed to head towards, because as a leader, don't go to church and become the center of attention. You want to sit closest to Jesus, with your sins. I don't know. I think, and I'm glad there has been a mental shift, especially among young people. Let's just say most of young people are now waking up to some of these things, that there are spaces for politicking, and there are spaces for respect.
Right.
And I think those two should be separated.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what you noticed, the question on what you noticed that, the feeling and mood of, citizens when it comes to awareness of the political climate and nature, because we know it's very emotive right now, but now there's the proper awareness of the issues on the ground, the proper awareness of the articulation of those matters on the ground. What's your take on that?
I would say it's a very 50-50 kind of situation, whereby we have a very good section of the population who have understood what it is that we are trying to fight. And we can see a change since the last year to this year. I usually don't agree with the school of thought that the protests have done nothing and there's not been any change and all that.
Or
We've
there's a
seen
difference
churches.
between last year's protest and this one. They say they didn't have the same feel.
Yeah, but also at the same time, there has been a shift in how we behave. Like, for instance, we can see the churches, at some point, the churches were not on board with what we were trying to do. But now there has been a shift. Yeah? So now most churches actually come out and stand with young people. Right, which is something that we had not seen before. There has been a bit of a shift. Even when you talk to our parents and all that, some of them may not be sold 100%, but they understand what is going on. And I think as time goes by and as more things happen and more people die and more people get arrested and the terrorism charges and all that, I think more people are becoming radicalized and more people are seeking to understand now the political issues and how to solve them. Because it's becoming very personal for all of us. It's no longer just something in the periphery.
Right. Now, I've also seen you using technology to create awareness on, for example, matters of the ICC. From the time that we had, the individuals named. So what you did was come up with an explanation as to how things work, how countries end up, let's say volunteering or saying, hey, this person and this person. So why did you feel the need to articulate especially such matters?
About the ICC issue, when post-election violence happened in 2007, I was 16 years old. And my family and I lived in Eldoret. We are a mixed family, Kisi, Kale. So where we lived in Eldoret, we were in Langas in Eldoret, and those who know what went down in Langas, you know how bad it was, right? And then years later, that was 17 years later by last year, to see the same people that were accused of these crimes and are indicted of these crimes at the helm of our leadership and how arrogant they are towards us really irked me. I think I just woke up one day and I was like, someone has to say it. Someone has to say it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the contents of that, page you created?
So that wasn't a page. That one was purely on my social media, on X. And I got a lot of support from people. A lot of people started talking about it. Fufu ICC was trending for weeks. We had the diaspora community protesting at The Hague. It was a very big thing. And I think it was important for people to remember what happened. I thank Boniface Mwangi for giving us access to pictures from back then. Mizani 254 for the videos they did and the audios they collected for us. That was amazing. It is a painful story, but it needed to be said.
Right.
Yeah.
And what have you seen? Because I feel like things ricocheted from that time to what now you've been doing, now.
Yes.
Yes. So what has the progression been from, awareness? You're out in different counties. You're doing, like I said, education, civic education in different places. And now you have a team that you work with to ensure this is ongoing. So how did that progress?
So after some time, we can't just do one thing and expect one thing to work. We have to go out there and someone has to do it. As we said, you can't be on social media talking and you're not walking the talk. So we decided to come together with a group of young people. We are about 12. we go around in different counties, different wards, different communities. We do town halls. We talk to people. We try to understand their problems. We listen mostly because you can easily assume you know what people need, So we listen to people so that we understand this particular community, what do they need. And some of us are just interested in civic education. Some of us in the group are young aspirants. So whenever we go anywhere, we have a conversation with these people. We try to understand them. If an aspirant is from that place, we give the people a chance to grill him or her so that they understand where this person is coming from and what they're trying to offer to the community. Yeah, so we've covered quite some ground. We've been to Mombasa, we've been to Busia, we've been to Kakamega, we've done different parts of Nairobi, we've been to Machakos County. Yeah, soon we'll be in Thika.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a spotlight on people who are, let me say, emerging as leaders right now.
Yeah.
And you can see from the previous protest, that is last year, in the heart, we had young people who are deemed as leaders. And I want to specifically highlight Caswell, who, he's doing a fellowship right now and the like, but some would say he's, equipping himself so that he can be, a better leader. And others are terming him as still a betrayer. And that would, I see you're smiling. Right. And that also be the same for Kebaso. And the like, whereby, he's still hailed as someone who did a lot for the movement, but he feels like he's in and out at the same time. So there's that weight, Nyamisa. Is Nyamisa one of those? What is the kind of leadership that Nyamisa has? Because you're taking control of something and people love what you're doing, but there's a weight of leadership, whether you like it or not. So what's your perspective on that and how do you carry it?
I think for a lot of us, we just got thrown into this space. In fact, I usually tell people, I feel like the word activism is it's just used very loosely nowadays because all of us are activists now. Like almost everyone I know around me has been speaking up on this issue, so we are all activists now. Yeah. And it's a very...
But then what would you call them? What name would you give them?
I don't know. But I think there's a way the word activism is used that... I don't know why they try to put a negative connotation to it,
right,
to some point. But I think that, for instance, Caswell and our brother Kebaso, they're very brilliant young men. And they did make some choices that we absolutely do not agree with. A lot of us do not agree with. But at the same time, they're very young. They're very young, and they just got here. So I'm very conflicted on that. But I'd say, to some level, give people a little grace. If someone comes back, and I know Kebaso has tried to speak to people. It's very difficult. It's a very emotive issue, as it should be, because people have lost lives, So I think when you're in this space, you have to be very grounded in what you believe in so that you don't end up, and you can very easily be shaken. You can very easily be co-opted into things that you didn't intend to get into in the first place, maybe. So it's very sensitive. You have to be very careful.
So what grounds you?
What grounds me? I think it's the pain. It's the compounded pain of the things that you keep seeing around you, and it's like no one is responding to it, and it just gets to a point where, in my head, I tell myself, you know what, I have to see this through to the end. If we are going to, if it's pushing, for instance, for the Maraga candidacy to 2027, I have to see this to the end, because otherwise, what would be the point?
But Nyamisa, there's a whole aspect of a need, which is now what they're actually blamed, I think, the most for.
Yeah.
When an opportunity comes and you need it, and especially if it's economical, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It means that you have a need. But unfortunately, the position that you're in, you would have to receive a lot of judgment, and most of the time we've seen it's not good, right? So in that perspective, when you're saying ground yourself, but you have that option, how do you look at it?
You know, I understand, because it's very hard to be grounded when you don't have food at the table, and you don't have, you know, rent, and you don't have all this. So I think what I'd say, we need to get rid of that narrative that we keep pushing about paid activism and all that, because let's support our own people. Let's support our own people so that they don't fall into temptation. So that we don't lose our soldiers because they had a family to feed, or they had, you know, needs to fulfill and all that. And I think that brings me to what the former CJ was talking about fundraising for his campaign. We don't want someone who will have to steal so that they come and convince us to vote for them. Let's support our own people.
Okay, then. Right, so let's take some couple of feedback. I want to remind our viewers of our question of the day. We had asked you earlier. It will be appearing on your screen just now. There you go. What's your take on digital activism and its role in championing for democracy? Let's take a look at what you have to say. And of course, we have a response here from Faith from Kiambu, who says, online campaigns give us numbers, and numbers scare politicians. It's easier to silence a few protesters than 5 million tweets. Okay, Faith, it's quite something. We have Vicky here who says, morning, Amka Kenya. Digital activism is good. Shida ni Subaru. Ish. Yeah, right. Dennis from Kakamega says, it's a start, but for digital activism to work, we need to connect it with legal action, protest, and real policy change. Okay, then. Well, there you go. Let me take a look at Daniel's tweet, and also the previous one. Yes, many people want to speak their minds and be part of this particular cause, but like they said, they're afraid of getting abducted, which is what we've been seeing a lot. And also, one of them saying that, yes, we have the numbers, but this is the reality, that we are facing. What's your take on that?
I think they're right. And I understand the fear. I live that fear every day. I live with that fear every single day. In fact, I was telling someone yesterday, I'm terrified of living today because I don't know, people are getting picked up here and there, and you don't know when it will be your turn. We're at a point where it feels like it's a matter of when, not if, But I think I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Someone has to do it. It doesn't matter how afraid you are. Just do it afraid, because we've seen children getting killed in bed. They didn't do anything,
Yeah.
So if we don't push for the change that we need, we'll just we'll stay in the same pit.
And what's your take on President William Ruto's statement that parents need to train or take care of the children, and it is not, the mandate of the police?
What was Alicia Kanini's, what was her name? The little girl?
The 12-year-old.
Yes, the 12-year-old. She was in bed. What was her parents supposed to do? Go and cover them overnight so that a stray bullet doesn't get into their house and kill her, So I think some statements are quite careless and unempathetic. Yeah. At this point, I don't even understand what is going on with the presidency and the government, and how they have absolutely refused to listen to what people are trying to say. And when he says that parents should take care of their children and advise their children and all that, I think they are forgetting something. Gen Z are parents. These are 25-year-olds, 27-year-olds, 28-year-olds. They are the parents. They're not the children. I don't know why they try to make it look like it is children who are pushing for change in this country. They're not children. And I think the reason why the political class tries to trivialize this issue by making it look like it's children screaming, in the streets, is because they know that they themselves got into politics when they were around this age. Yeah? There were student leaders in UN just the other day when us who were being born. There were students when they got into these positions of leadership. So they know the power that young people hold. That is why they try to make it look like you're doing nothing.
Right. And what message would you have for anyone who wants to use technology to further civic education and activism?
I'd say do it. It doesn't matter if it is a TikTok video you're making. It doesn't matter if it is an Instagram reel. It doesn't matter if it is a tweet you're putting out. You are helping to spread the information, and that is very important. You don't know the 40 views you will get on your tweet, or the 1,000 views you will get on your post makes a very big difference, because those are 1,000 people who have seen that, and probably you've changed 10 people's mind among the 1,000. So keep doing it. Don't let the noise by government bloggers dim you down.
And one specific aspect that you'd like them to capture from the time, because you see, this moment that we're in has a trademark, if I can say. So you have to tap into it for you to understand and be effective. And you'll see in many newspaper articles, governance experts will tell you that this particular moment has a marking. So what's your perspective?
I think we've gotten to a tipping point as a country. Gotten to a tipping point, and I don't think anybody saw this coming, especially the political class. I think 2027 is going to be very different with how people are going to vote. And my guess is it's going to be a trend. And social media is going to have a very big impact in how people are going to vote. People might even decide not to have a secret ballot anymore. People take pictures of their ballot papers to show that they voted for somebody.
That's where we're at now.
That is where we are at now, and I hope we do that, because we want to know who you voted for, because you can't have you making terrible choices. But I think there's a very big change, and there's a section of the older population who are still coming to terms with that, but there's a very big change, and young people are taking over.
We are very ready, in your opinion, for issue-based politics.
I think we are. I think where our problems have gotten us, I think it's time for issue-based politics. Whether we like it or not, that is the direction we have to go for there to be any change. If we keep doing this whole charisma and aura thing, I don't know.
Because that is what some of them were saying about the former CJ.
That he doesn't have charisma. But we got him charisma. What do you mean?
We got him the singer charisma.
Yes. We got him charisma, so he's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what's your take on that? Because you see, it's part of our culture, having leaders who are flamboyant, very well spoken, well articulated. He is that. We're not saying that the former CJ isn't, but there's an expectation.
For the pomp and color.
Yes. So,
I think that just goes back to our efforts on the ground of social media. Talk to your mother, talk to your auntie, talk to your grandma. Talk to that cousin of yours that wants pomp and color, and explain to them how that will not change their lives. That will not improve their lives in any way. It's a lot of work. That one I won't lie. We have a long way to go in terms of political education, but I believe we'll do it. I believe we will do it.
And do you think now that he's requesting now the crowdfunding, to be aided by the citizens, that he had mentioned when you have that, it will take away now from you as a politician wanting to get your money back once you're in power, so you're always working for yourself. Do you think it will solve that issue?
I think it will. Also, it will put them on their toes, because now you owe almost the whole country money. You don't owe just one random, Indian group a lot of money. Don't arrest me. Anyway.
All right, Nyamisa, thank you so much for that. Thank you for being here and sharing with us your perspective and experience, as a woman in technology and using your space to create awareness when it comes to governance and politics. Thank you once again for being here. You're welcome. Right, so thank you so much for watching Amka Kenya. This has been Amka Vibe Check, and coming up shortly is Miss Kahira on Trend Talks. Do stay with us.